All right. So we had finished up 24, and now we're on 25, and we are going to see some of the last actions that we'll see of Abraham. And I think it's important. Remember, when we first were introduced to Abraham, he was called by God, told to do what? Leave his what? Leave his country. What else would he leave? His family. Okay. Leave everything. All right. And did Abraham do that? No, he didn't. He saw. He had compassion on his nephew because his nephew's father had what? Died, and so he's like, well, I'm gonna leave, and he's been like us. So he took Lot with him, and then he didn't really go like as far as he was supposed to. But that's kind of like how what? Okay, so we can identify with that, right? Because he was worried, and it's a so-called what I consider a justifiable worry. I'm concerned about my what? My nephew. We would do the same thing, but who actually takes care of us? God. So who would take care of Lot? God. Right. But do we want to put the what? The faith. So it all kind of goes back to what? Something you just don't want to have and give to God. I'll give God all of this. I'll leave my country, and I'll leave my father and all my God. I'll leave. But Lot, man, he already done had. He's heartbroken, man. His dad died and all that. I can't leave Lot. So now you're gonna do what? I'm gonna own what God said what he was gonna handle. Right? And so now we're looking at the final stages of Abraham. That was the beginning, and so today we're going to look at some of the things that we can point out about the ending of Abraham. So let's take a listen. Chapter 25. Let's see what we got.
Chapter 25. Then again Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah, and she bare him Zimran, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shuhan. And Jokshan begat Sheba, and Dedan, and the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, and Letushim, and Leumim, and the sons of Midian, Ephah, and Epher, and Henoch, and Abida, and Eldeah. All these were the children of Keturah. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. But unto the sons of the concubines which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts, and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived, eastward unto the east country. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life which he lived, 160 years. Then Abraham gave up the ghost, and died in a good old age, an old man, and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar, the Hittite, which is before Mamre, the field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth. There was Abraham buried, and Sarah his wife. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham, that God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well Lehairoi. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nebajoth, and Kedar, and Adbeel, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Duma, and Masa, Hadar, and Tima, Jetur, Nephish, and Kedema. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their towns and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. And these are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelt from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as thou goest toward Assyria. And he died in the presence of all his brethren. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel the Syrian of Padan Aram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her, and she said,
If it be so, why am I thus?
And she went to inquire of the Lord. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. And the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. And when her days to be delivered Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man, dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau, because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. And Jacob sowed pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob,
Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint.
Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said,
Sell me this day thy birthright.
And Esau said,
Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me?
And Jacob said,
Swear to me this day.
And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright.
All right. So there we go with chapter 25. Now, there's a lot that has been said here, and a lot that we can pick up. A lot of times going past in the descriptions that we see here. The first thing we notice is that it brings to us a next stage in Abraham's life, because the last chapter we did what we showed the death and burial of who? Sarah. All right, and so we watched Sarah's struggle through many chapters. Sarah and Abraham hearing from God. Now, I think it's important that we recognize hearing from God is not that unusual. God speaks to us. We studying His Word. He's speaking to us what? Now.
Right now.
God speaking. God spoke to Sarah. All right. But just because God speaks to you, don't mean that you're walking the straight and narrow of what God had what said. Sarah heard God. God said, "I'm going to bless you and your husband with what? Child. You're going to have so many offspring that it would be, if you wanted to number them, it would be like trying to number the what? The stars of heaven or the sands of the sea." Now, who said that to Sarah? God. If I had said that, you would have room for what? Doubt. But then comes your own mind of how it's going to play out. So see, when somebody tells you something, you thinking how it's going to play out, you have your own, you orchestrate it yourself. Well, it's going to be like this, and it's going to be like that, or it's going to happen like this. And in reality, trusting in God means that you got to let God do it what? His way. But oftentimes that's where we fail, because we just feel, I kind of get it. And the struggle is not hearing from God or God talking to you. The struggle is letting God be what? God. And you following the path. That's usually where and Sarah had the same problem. We're going to see this time and time and time and time again. And then you're going to be able to identify it in your own life. All right. Everybody's trying to say, well, I'm doing God's will. So was Sarah. God spoke to me. He spoke to Sarah. But Sarah was as off as what? Two left shoes. Why? Because she said, well, she got impatient, number one. Because when God said, I'm going to give you the offspring as the stars of heaven or the sand of the sea, she is expecting, I'm expecting like every year or every other year, I'm going to be what? I'm going to be pregnant. I'm going to be bringing forth these kids. And now here you were 90 years old and ain't nothing happening. All right. We cannot look at circumstances. We walk by faith, not by sight. It's important to do that. Now, you can say that time and time again, but then let something happen. Wake up tomorrow and your bank account's empty. Somehow or another, the government went in because something oversight that you had or something like that, and bank account is gone. You're going to just, well, God's going to work something out. You're going to just be calm. No, we're going to be making some phone calls. We're going to be trying to figure out what's happening. But in reality, if something drastic like that was to happen, did any of this catch God unaware or unprepared? So then if we were to just say, well, God knew this was going to happen, and somehow or another God's going to show me what I need to do. Same thing when you go to the doctor. The doctor said, you got this going on or you got that going on. Is God surprised?
No.
So we saw Sarah struggle, and then we saw her on our last week, her ending and her dying. And so now we open up with this chapter and we see the next stage in Abraham. Look at what it jumps right into. And it says, then again Abraham took a what? A wife. Well, it didn't say Abraham waited 10 years or whatever. It just said he took a what? Right? Because what happens to us? Life does what? It moves on. Right? And where was Keturah before this? I don't know. I wasn't there. But all of a sudden, once Sarah was out the picture, guess what?
She showed up.
She's there. Well, should that be? I don't know. I don't know the story. All I know is I turned the page, I turned to the next chapter, and all of a sudden, Abraham's what? Getting married. Got the ceremony, the balloons, invitations, and all that. I'm like, okay. She must not have been too far away. I'm sure she was there at the burial. Yeah. So all of a sudden, Keturah is right there. All right, and then she bare him Zimram and Jokshan and Medan and child after child after child. Wait a minute, I thought Abraham had a problem having children. All of a sudden, Keturah walked in and now she's doing what Sarah thought she was going to do. Oh my goodness, look at here. Huh? And you remember back when we were looking at, remember when Sarah had her idea? Maybe she had her spark of spiritual wisdom. I think I know what God wants us to do. He wants you to take my handmaid, and we're gonna see what's going to happen. And we talked about that, how Sarah had two motives. Because Sarah wanted to know, okay, we're not having no children. I want to know, is it me or is it him? Because if I give him Hagar, and she still, then I know where the problem is. But then what ended up happening? Hagar got what? Got pregnant. So now Sarah knew what? It's me. So God is withholding from within me. Why? That's something for her and God to talk about.
Amen.
I don't know why. And that's an important thing sometimes, to let people have their own dignity and let them go to God about their own issues. Because sometimes we want to dig into folks' stuff. When you got a cut and a scab on your hand, and somebody well, how'd that happen? Well, I had an accident. And they going to go in there and take your scab and dig into it. That's what? Painful. And it's also what? Personal. That's my scab. That's my problem. That's my issue. Let that be between me and God. And that's what Sarah had to learn. Understand that God will use you and allow you to come to your awareness of you, which is important. Sometimes we don't like to know ourselves on that side. We all want to know how wonderful we are. When you go and you meet people for the first time, you want to put your best foot forward, and we drag that other foot along. After a while, people get to know that other foot. They be like, "Oh, okay, I see how you really are." So anyway, so we saw the situation with Sarah, and so now we see Keturah, and she's got these children, and I'm not going to read all these names because I'm going to mispronounce most of them anyway. But it shows us. When you get to the bottom part of verse 4, it says, all these were the children of Keturah. All right, so she had a lot of folks the Lord blessed to come out of her womb. Look at verse 5. It says, and Abraham gave all he had to who?
Isaac.
Oh, so it didn't matter how many children Keturah had. God told Abraham, I'm going to bless you through who?
His seed.
Through his seed, and that seed was coming between who? Him and Sarah. And Isaac was the only child that him and Sarah had. And so when it talks about, when God oftentimes will talk about, excuse me for my allergy. When God talks about bring your son, your only son, and the reason why he can say only son, after we just list all these names of children that he had, he's talking about the son of what? Of promises. Okay. So whenever you see that, don't get confused. Some people are like, well, the Bible contradiction itself, because he's saying that was his only son when he had all them children by Keturah and had Ishmael by Hagar. And no, it's not contradiction. Understand what the Bible's trying to say. The Bible's saying there is a natural realm of how things work, but then there is a realm of promise that I declare. And Isaac and Sarah, God said, I declare you will have a child. And through that child, I'm going to bless the whole world. All right. So Abraham gave everything he had to Isaac. All the inheritance and the promises belong to Isaac. But look at verse 6. But unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave what? Gifts. Gifts. All right, so I'm not ignoring you. I'm not disowning you. Huh? That's it. That's it. That's it. But you're gonna get some gifts. You're gonna get something. All right. So you come up to the reading of the will. Or here's $100 for you. Here's $50 for you. But the millions going to who? Isaac. So everybody got some gifts. Everybody got something. But the name of who I am is traveling through my son Isaac. All right, and the promise. All right, it says, and sent them away from Isaac, his son. So now y'all have to get away, because I don't want y'all meddling in what God is going to do through him. So Isaac is the promise, and that's where we're going to continue our story. But then Abraham is doing with Isaac what God told Abraham to do: separate yourself from your what? From your people, from your family. So Abraham did to Isaac, y'all get away from him, because God's about to use him, and he don't need y'all what? Meddling in this. All right. So y'all go on about your business. Y'all got your gifts. Now go away, and y'all go to a different country. All right. And so he sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. And these are all the days and the years of Abraham's life, which he had lived, 115. So he lived 175 years. All right. And Abraham gave up the ghost. What's giving up the ghost mean? That means you what? You die. Okay. He gave up the ghost. And the reason why I say he gave up the ghost, because we are what? We are a what? A spirit. Yes.
This thing with this 75.
175?
70, right?
60. 60. Yeah, a score is 20.
That's right. A score is 20. 60. Okay. No.
175. Yeah. All right. So it says Abraham gave up the ghost, and when it says to give up the ghost, that means the being of who you are. We are what? We are spirit. The Bible told us that when we talked about Eve, when God said that from the dust you came, and from the dust you will what? You shall return. And that's talking about the what? The natural man. But when we were in the New Testament, and it talked about to be absent from the body is to be what? Present with the Lord. That's talking about the what? The spiritual man. So when it said Abraham gave up the ghost, that's another way of saying that his spirit was separated from his what? Body. From his body. All right. It says, and died in a good old age, an old man, full of years, and was gathered to his people. He was gathered to his people. What does that mean? Well, he died and then went to go be with. Then don't you just sit in the ground? They said that he died and he was gathered to his what? See, the Pharisees thought about that too. They tried to say that when they were saying to Jesus, when Jesus says, Abraham rejoiced when he saw my day. He said, well, you're not even 50 years old, and you saw Abraham. And he was talking about the Pharisees, and they were debating as to who was a real child of Abraham. And then the Sadducees, which don't even believe in a resurrection, were debating with Jesus. And so Jesus had to correct the Pharisees. But then when he got to the Sadducees, he said, and to you Sadducees, he said, God is not the God of the dead, but the God of the what? Living. Of the living. So when we say the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we're not talking about the God of people that are what? Dead. That don't exist. They died the what? Natural death, but they live what? Eternal. So he's still the God of Abraham. So when Abraham was gathered to his people, what people are you talking about? Well, Abraham got a chance to see who? Probably Noah,
No.
Adam, Eve, Abel. That was the first person what? Murdered. Get a chance to see Enoch, who was what? Translated.
He didn't even die.
Didn't even get a chance to see that. And so he was gathered to his people. All right. In verse 9 it says, and his son Isaac and Ishmael buried them. So Isaac and Ishmael what? Came together to bury him. Well, where was the children of Keturah? Well, they still too young. Right? Because Keturah was just, she was just, you know, having these kids just recently, and now he's died, he done went on and passed. And so the older children, who's the oldest here?
Isaac.
Ishmael.
Ishmael's
the oldest. Ishmael came, and then Isaac came. All right. And so now they come together and they bury him in the cave of Machpelah in the field of Ephraim, the son of Zorah, the Hittite. So they were buried in the land that belonged initially to the what? To the Hittites. Now we're going to see Hittites some more. We're going to see that as we're going through that. We're going to see Joshua dealing with them. Excuse me there for a second. And so that's where they're buried. And he's buried with his what? With his wife Sarah. So their natural bodies were placed in the same place. But guess what? When it says that Abraham was gathered to his people, you know who else he saw up there? He saw Sarah. And I say up there, I'll just say over there, because the Lord talked about this when he gave the parable of the rich man that died, and it said in hell he lifted up his what? His eyes. And I'm not going to go into that story. That's another story. We went through that already when we went to the Old Testament. But there's a beautiful aspect about where the Old Testament saints went, and then after Jesus died, how those that were held captive in death were liberated. So he led captive. He delivered them and brought them up, and then said, "Open wide, you everlasting gates, and the King of glory shall come in."
Amen.
Who was that King of glory? The King what? Mighty in battle. And he went and brought all those Old Testament individuals that were held in Abraham's bosom to the glory and the presence of God the Father. Because they couldn't go there yet because the sin had not been what? Paid for. But once it was paid for, and that's why they went up there what? Boldly. And that's why now we can go what? Boldly. But before that they had to be separated. They couldn't go up there right there. So that's where they are. They're in that place which is termed Abraham's bosom, the place of paradise. And it was and Jesus talked about there being a gulf in that place where those that were in the perfect paradise were on one side, and those that were in the paradise that didn't want to be. Because when that rich man died, he woke up and he was like in torment. And he was like, "Can somebody just give me I don't need a bottle of water. Just dip your finger in some water and just get me out of this mess." And said, "Can you help me?" No, we can't help you. Can you go tell my? No, we can't.
We can't do that.
Can we? No, you don't get nothing down here that you really think you should get. That's why you don't want to be down there. But see, one of the torments about not being where God wants you is that you don't get the things that God promised.
Amen.
Because you say, "I don't want them." And when you don't want them, guess what? You don't get them. You ever have a kid to be like, "I don't want that, I don't want that, I don't want that," and then later on they come back and they go, "Oh, I want some." But everybody else, now it's all what? It's all gone. You said you didn't want it, and now you ain't gonna get it because you have locked yourself in. You could have got it when it was present, but you locked yourself in. We gonna see that with Pharaoh. Pharaoh's gonna be saying, "Well, he ain't gonna do it. I'm not gonna do that. I'm not gonna do it." And then God's gonna do what? Okay, you sure you don't want to do that? And he's gonna lock Pharaoh into his decision. Pharaoh's gonna be a walking death. People can be like that. We're gonna see Saul. It's gonna be like that. And Samuel's gonna pray for Saul, and God's gonna say, "Get up, don't pray for him no more, because I have what? I've rejected him." But wait a minute, he wasn't even dead yet. But so you can be living so hard-hearted, like Pharaoh, that God will let you still live and lock you in. That's what you want. You got it. I'm gonna see, God gave Pharaoh the desires of his heart. He wanted to be against God, and God said, "I'm gonna give you the desires of your heart. You got it. I don't want that." So you got to be careful when you all big and bad and bold down. "Well, I don't need God, and I don't want this, and I don't need." Well, God said, "Fine. Because the scripture says God will give you the what? Desires of your heart. But if the desires of your heart are against the things of God, God will say, if that's what you want, I'm going to give you the desires of your heart. That's a bad thing if you desire to be against God. Because then you get what? Locked into that. And the Bible describes it in many ways, one of which we see in Romans, which is what? A reprobate mind, a reprobate heart. Locked in. God gave you the desires. You want to be like that? That's what you're going to be. I'm going to give you what you want. Watch out for that. That's why we ask God, we got to make sure we ask God, God, not my will, but thy will be done. Because I might want something and the Lord said, you sure you want that? I'm like, you know what, God, I'm not sure. Don't lock me into that. I want your will. Alright? So we got to make sure that we do the right things when it comes to that.
Good morning.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good, thank you.
Alright. So we got to be careful with that. Alright. So Ishmael and Isaac, they came and they buried Abraham. We are in chapter 25.
Genesis?
Genesis, yes. And we're right around the 10th, 11th, 12th verses here. Alright. And so it says that Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. And it came to pass that after the death of Abraham, that God blessed his son, who? Isaac. Look at that. God is now going to deal with Isaac. Right? It didn't say any of Keturah's children, and it didn't say Ishmael. Ishmael was there to help bury Abraham, but God's dealing with who? Because that was the original plan. That's what God promised. This is what I'm going to do. All right. So it says, and God blessed his son Isaac, and Isaac dwelt by the well of Lahairoi. Now, we could take a time. I can spend all the rest of today and all the rest of next week talking about God dealing with people by the what? A well. When Isaac got his wife, and when the servant of Abraham went up to get the wife, where did he find her? At the well. All right. When Jesus was walking and getting ready to go to Samaria, and he stopped and saw the woman at the what? At the well. The woman that had all these what? Issues and problems. We're going to see with Moses, when he gets to the point where after he leaves Egypt, he's going to be coming to a place, and he's going to see these daughters at a well, and that's where he's going to go and help them get water. And we're going to see this well. And so I would say to you, in your own personal study and just follow along the Bible, look at how many times you'll see the Bible talk about these meetings and these dwellings at a well. We saw that even this confrontation, because when Abraham's servants were digging wells, the other individuals were coming and what? Trying to claim them. We saw that there was a situation even with Abraham and Lot, which is why they had to separate, because they were fighting over the what? The land and the wells. A lot we could say about that, but let me move along, because we could spend a lot of time on that. And it says in verse 12, it says, and now these are the generations of Ishmael. And I'm not going to read all of this, but this is Ishmael, the son in whom Hagar, the Egyptian, all right, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. Just in case you want to know where he came from, he was the son of Abraham and Hagar. And Hagar was a what? Egyptian. She was Sarah's who? Handmaid. And we talked about that. And so it says, and these are the sons of Ishmael, and it lists all these different individuals. And if you go down to verse 16, and it says, these are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names by their what? Their towns, and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nation. So God promised Hagar. Remember when Hagar was leaving? When she had enough, because Sarah was like treating her bad, and God told her, go back and be submissive to her, and I'm going to make your offspring a great nation. There will be many offspring that will come from him. Well, here we go. See, God will give you what he said. Didn't change the struggle. She still had to go back and deal with what? Sarah treating her bad because, you know, that situation. And so we have to keep this in mind. Struggle is not something that is eliminated because you know God. A lot of people say, well, I'm going to come to God because I'm tired of fighting. Well, that ain't the reason to come to God. Because you're going to fight. You're going to have the battle. I want my life to be better. Your life will be better, but it will not be ease. So a lot of times people come and, you know, they misuse various scriptures. Come unto me, all you that labor and heavy laden, and I will give you what? Rest. And we think that, well, rest means I ain't got to do nothing else. No, the rest means you no longer have to fight for your own salvation. That I got. But you're going to have to fight against the devil. You're going to have to fight against society. And guess what? You're going to have to fight against the number one enemy. Enemy number one. Yourself. Because guess what? Y'all got issues. And so do I. We all got them, don't we? And guess what? God knows those issues intimately. You know some of them, but you don't know all of them. See, God knows the issue you're going to be dealing with 5 years from now. See, He knows that. He sees that issue that is you. The issue that is you coming along. And He's already trying to prepare you for you. Because you're going to get in your way. You fighting with yourself. All right? But we got to learn to just trust God.
Amen.
And deal with the Lord in that manner. All right. So that's Ishmael. He's got all that. Verse 17, it says, and these are the years of the life of Ishmael. He had 137 years. So he lived to be what? 137 years old. And he gave up the ghost and died and was gathered unto his people. I find that nice and interesting. Ishmael, whose descendants, remember what one of the things that God said about Ishmael's descendants, they will be what? A wild, and will be against every person. But it said that about Ishmael's what? Descendants. It didn't say that about what? Ishmael. So sometimes you ever see wonderful, wonderful people? They got some crazy children. I mean, good people. I mean, they did right, and somehow or another, the child just turned up to be like, wow, where did that come from?
Ishmael and Isaac.
I can't explain it. Well, how does that happen? I have no idea. All right, but all I know is God knew that Ishmael's descendants were going to be issues, and they were going to be issues throughout what? All of time. But Ishmael was gathered to his people, just like Abraham was. Because Ishmael, what? He was trusting God. All right. Some people don't like the fact that you know, that here's this Ishmael, you know, the illegitimate child and all that. That, you know, no. If you, I don't care where you come from, if you trust and believe God and follow God's instruction, guess what? You know Him. And see, that's the key. You got to make sure that you know Him and He what? Knows you. Jesus said about all those religious folks, He did all those wonderful things. I cast out devils and all these miracles in that name. And Jesus quotes to them, depart from me, you what? Worker of iniquity. Why? I never knew you. Never knew you.
Never knew.
All right, so we got to make sure that not only that you know God, but that God what? Knows you in the pardoning of your sins. Oh, He knows who you are, but does He know you in the what? Pardoning of your sins. All right. Let's move on. We're doing good. We got time. Verse 18, it says, and they dwelt in Havilah and in Shurfa before Egypt. All right, so that's where his descendants were, around that area, around that Middle East area, northern part of the northern west part of Africa, and in the Middle East, which we're going to see as we go through the rest of these books of Moses. There's a lot of activity that happens there. Verse 19, and these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel. All right, and the name I want to point out there is, you go down to that bottom line, it says the sister to Laban. We're going to see Laban. He was Laban the Syrian. We're going to see Laban again. He's going to be around. He's going to play a major part in what God's going to do, because God's going to allow Laban to be who he was. And you remember when we looked at it last week, when when Abraham's servant gave all the gifts to Rebekah, who came out looking at look at all these jewels and all these gifts and all this stuff? Laban was there. He got a little bit of love for things that are valuable. And we're going to see that's going to continue. There's a lot of people that are going to love you, man, because of what you what? God. But turn up not to have anything, and guess what happens? They're moving on. And you really need to have people that love and care for you regardless. You know, somebody that's got your back even when you have what? Nothing. A friend is a friend not because he's after something. I don't want anything from you. I just like you.
Amen.
I like who you are. I think you know, upstanding person, and I got respect for you. You know, but when you look at my bank account, and you can look at my bank account because there ain't nothing in there. But when you look at that bank accounts for people that really got it,
that's okay.
That's a problem. All right,
I love you, brother.
And you can find a lot of people like that. All right. So Laban. All right, we're gonna see him again. And Isaac. And so now it says in verse 21, Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife because she was what? Barren. Sounds familiar, right?
Yes.
But now this is what is different. Isaac went to the Lord, which is what you're supposed to do. And then the Lord did what? Look at what it says here. And the Lord entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife what? Conceived. All right. So in verse 22 it says, and the children struggled together in her. So while she recognized that she had conceived and she was now bearing life within her, she knew that there was something going on, because in her she could feel struggle. In her natural being, but probably also in her what? Spirit. In her spirit. She knew there was something going on here. There was a struggle. And so what she do? Let me see. Let's read here. And so she saw the struggle. They struggled together. And she went and took some Tylenol, some ibuprofen. Oh wait, I got the wrong Bible. Oh wait, I'm sorry. I'm reading that other Bible again. I keep reading that other Bible.
Leave that one alone.
Okay. Now we got to keep that along, because that's the Bible that most people read.
Yes.
That's the one they read. They don't go to the Lord. They go to ibuprofen and Tylenol. You know, all right. But so when they struggled together, it says, and she said, if it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the what? Of the Lord. All right. Verse 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb. Wow. So that means 2 ideologies, 2 philosophies. Now, I'm going to say this, and y'all can take it for what it's worth. When it talks about 2 nations are in her womb, it deals with 2 spiritual aspects. Because see, when we get into the book of Daniel, you're going to see that Daniel's going to portray various nations as spiritual entities. He's going to describe them at one point as like gold, silver, bronze, and iron. And other times he's going to describe them as animals that are a compilation of a variety of different kinds of animals. But when Daniel is praying for a prayer to be answered, and he finally is going to get the prayer, and then the angel is going to come and he's going to give Daniel the answer, but he said that he has to go because the thing that he struggled with was the principality of the area of Persia. And so that meant that area had a principality. The Bible talks about we struggle against principalities, fallen angels, spiritual entities that fight against God. So, is it possible? And before I even bring this up, I'm gonna tell you I don't know. I'm just throwing this out as a I wonder that in the being that these individuals were going to be nations, that the spiritual entities were trying to claim them even before they were what? Born. Now you say, now that's kind of like, well, wait a minute now. Before Jesus was born, he was what? Named. Before Isaac was born, he was what? Named. Even Ishmael, before he was born, he was what? Named. That means that he already had a spiritual connection before birth. All right. So when she is told, and that's why you look at this and you go, okay, well, they're just kind of fighting. It's not just a natural fight. Even in her womb, it's a what? Spiritual fight that started with these two before they were even what? Born. And it continues to what? This day. Yes, Mother.
I'm just gonna, just like you just said, I'm just gonna throw this out as a possibility. You just addressed the matter from a spiritual standpoint. I'm going to address it from a physical. Have you ever seen a woman give birth to twins? One was black and one was white.
I've never seen it, but I heard of it.
I've seen it in newspapers, and I've heard of it too. When these two children were born, the same scripture, as we go down further, gives you certain physical characteristics of each one. It said that Jacob was a smooth man. And it says that Esau was a hairy man. You know, because when his father, at the end when he was dying, he said, Jacob said, my father will know I'm not Esau because he'll touch me, he'll feel me. And I won't have hair all over my hands and growing up my arms and around my neck and all of that. So I consider that kind of, or I think that's probably along the physical sense, that they were kind of different from each other physically as well as you just said, spiritually. They had different mindsets. Just like today in this world, there are many nations of people, and as you just said, in many cases they're at each other's throats. You know, even before they grow up and learn to be enemies, they're enemies from the womb.
Exactly. And how that spiritual fight that was going on translates itself into the natural, as Mother just, because even though they're two different, the spiritual's one, the natural's one, they end up being what? Intertwined. So you're a natural person that has a spiritual ideology. You believe in certain things spiritually, and based on that will determine your eternal what? Future. Your being. The way you conduct your natural and what you submit the natural to. I offer my natural being up as a living what? Sacrifice unto God to ensure my what? Spiritual. Right? So if you ain't offering that up, then the natural is going to stay what? Natural. I'm trying to transform this natural into what? Spirit. So this struggle, there's two things, and Mother, you hit on a couple things that we're going to just reiterate basically what you just said. All right, but then the Lord told, this was the Lord said, there's two nations in their womb, and two manner of people, two different kinds of folks. Wait a minute, this came from the same DNA, but it's still two different kinds of folks. And as Mother pointed out, when they're born, you're going to see that they are what? Different. Now, how did that happen? You're going to have to talk to God. But see, we talk about, well, I know how genetics work and DNA works this way. And when you have genes and DNA, and science will tell you that. And I'm not disputing science, because for the most part, that does work just like that. But that ain't the end all and be all. Amen. What was going on in Rebecca's womb right now was enough to make her say, I got to go to God. So what was happening spiritually that may have translated genetically and naturally, I can't answer. All I know is you got two totally different kinds of folks that came out. Now what happened in her womb? I don't know. All I know is what come out. I know it started with just two people, Isaac and Rebecca. Generally, when Isaac, who is of one kind of person, and Rebecca, when y'all come together and have children, usually the children gonna do what? Favor one or the other. Or at least, be similar, especially when they're twins. But somehow or another, this struggle, so whatever that struggle was, I particularly believe it's a spiritual struggle that manifests itself in the natural. Was DNA altered? Was genes tampered with? I can't answer that, but obviously something happened genetically. I don't know what it was. Well, then explain to me. I can't explain it. I don't know. All I know is the outcome. Right? You know when you, if I say get your phone out and go to the calculator and tell me what 482,000 divided by 952 is, and your calculator will be like boom. Then I tell you, now show me the math, show me the work. You're like, dude, please. That's why I got my calculator. I don't know. I can't show you the long division and all that kind of stuff. At least not, normally, So when it comes down to how this happened, I can't tell you. But like Mother said, two different kind of people came out. Something happened. All right, well, let's move along. We don't hit that enough. All right. So he goes on and he says there are two manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels. So when you give birth, you're going to have two manner of people. All right. And one people shall be stronger than the other. One's going to be stronger. And the elder shall serve the younger. All right. So now, here's another pattern that we're going to see. That the first child, which is supposed to be the child of what? Inheritance, generally does not turn out to be. It seems to always be the second child. From a standpoint of just children, who was the first child of Abraham? Ishmael. But who got the promise? Isaac. Who was the first Adam? Adam. And who's the second Adam? Jesus. Who gives the promise? Jesus. All right. The firstborn of Eve was who? Cain. But who showed forth how sin was going to be paid for by dying?
Cain.
Abel died. And Abel's blood, what? Cried out. And Jesus' blood is still what? Crying out. All right. So there's something else you can do. Like I said, you can follow the trends of the well. You can follow the trends of the second person, the second born. There's like a nice little theme that folds all over. We're going to see that again and again and again and again as we go through this Old Testament. All right. It says in 25, it says, actually let's go to 24. And when her day to deliver was fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out what? Red all over, like a hairy garment. Red all over. It was like a little devil coming on. I'm sorry, I'm reading that other Bible again. That other Bible keeps sneaking in there. So, we come out red all over, like a hairy garment. And they called his name Esau. And after that came his brother out, and his hand took hold of Esau's heel. So while Esau was being delivered, Jacob reached out through the womb and grabbed Esau's heel. Can you imagine that? Interesting. You know, we're gonna talk more about that grabbing of the heel, and that's and if you see, you see kids do this a lot. Somebody be walking and they stick their foot out to trip the what? Trip the heel. And because of what he did, that's what they're gonna name him. They're gonna name him heel catcher or trickster. That's what the word Jacob means. Which is why later on Jacob's gonna have to get his what? His name changed. Because he was born a trickster, a grabber, a thief, a stealer. We call that today, people got what? Sticky fingers? They always, you got some family members when they come over, oh yes, go over. But you got some family members, you be like, look, don't leave him alone in that house. Somebody be with him all the time. Because he gonna come in here weighing 115 pounds and he gonna go out weighing 140. Because he carrying stuff with him. Alright, so we all know that. So Jacob, well, let's get to it. So it says he laid hold of Esau's heel, and his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 60 years old when she bare. So Isaac was what? 60 years old. Alright. And so the boys grew. And Esau was a cunning what? Hunter. Now we're going to see this word again. Actually, we saw this already. Remember when we looked at Nimrod? Nimrod. Yeah. He was a hunter before the Lord. It says he was a great hunter. And the thing that you don't want to get confused, it wasn't like he was really good at hunting like elk or something. He was hunting the praise and the adoration of other people. That's what he was hunting. He wanted people to adore him. I'm hunting your approval. So basically, he wants people to do what to him? Like him. And what's even more so worse than like it? Worship. I want people to worship me. Nimrod was the first type of the Antichrist. I'm going to replace God. Instead of you worshiping God, I think you should worship me. So he hunted people's praise and adoration. A lot of people do that. You see that on TV all the time. On these, you know, these so-called, I shouldn't even pick on them features. Leave it alone. Let me move on. All right, I'm moving on. I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to leave him alone. All right, so he was a cunning hunter. All right, a man of the field. And Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. So Esau was, he was like the football player. And Jacob was the mama's boy. All right, sometimes you see that. But now, they were what? They were different. Jacob walking around all smooth and smooth skin, putting lotion on and everything. And Esau,
Comb his hair.
out there, he got to comb his hair, he got to comb his back, got to comb his neck. He got hair everywhere. You cornrow his elbows. He's just hairy. All right. And so look at verse 28. Now here comes a problem. And Isaac loved who? Esau. Now wait a minute. Didn't God tell Rebekah that the younger was going, that the older was going to what? Serve the younger. But Isaac, look, I don't care. But this guy's an All-American. He's the football player. He's the basketball player. So Esau, it says, and Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of the venison. But Rebekah loved what? Jacob. So right off the bat, we got problems because we got what? Favorites. All right. And so this is going to enforce that spiritual aspect that was fighting in the womb of Rebekah has also now translated and dwells now in the heart of the parents. It's enforcing and encouraging Isaac. Look at how wonderful Esau is. Look, he's just feeding him all that, and Rebekah is getting fed. But look at Jacob. He may not be that much. He can't run 2 feet without falling. He's clumsy. But he's the one that when you inquired of God, this is the one I told you was going to be the ruler, the one that God's Spirit's going to follow through. And what the devil's trying to do is what? Run interference. And that's what you do in football, right? You run interference. All right? So let's keep going here. All right? So we got parents that are not treating their children what? Equally. And you're going to always have problems when you do that. Even if you don't have a struggle in the womb, so to speak, you're creating a struggle out of the womb. So there was a struggle in and out of the womb. All right, 29. Jacob sod pottage, and Esau came from the field and was faint. Now he done went out and he's tired. He's been working out there in the field all day, and he's coming in, and Esau and Jacob done made some what? Some food. Verse 30. And Esau said to Jacob, "Feed me." All right, so he's giving what? Orders. All right, because I'm the older brother, and he was. Feed me. And he said, "I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint." Therefore was his name called what? Edom. Edom means red. All right. So he's coming out and he's all red and faint and tired and wants to eat. And look at Jacob. All right. Jacob was called what? Heel catcher, trickster. That's what he does, right? Look at verse 31. See, don't let all these clumsy, so-called nerd people think. Don't let them think that they don't know what they are doing. Look at what Jacob does. Jacob says, "Sell me this day thy birthright." He just come right out. Give me your birthright. I want to be the what? The one that gets the what? Inheritance. 32. And Esau said, "Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright be to me?" Wow. You see that? Not understanding. We have a birthright with who? Through Jesus. Somebody could say, "Man, what profit does that do for me?" You got a birthright with Jesus, and what do you got? You ain't always healthy. You ain't always rich. You're not the smartest person in the world. You're not the tallest. You're not the strongest. You're not the best looking.
I have an inheritance.
But you know who? Jesus. You know Jesus. So it don't matter. And so Esau's looking at his physical situation. My body's about to what? To die. Who cares about birthrights? Who cares about all this stuff? And Esau doesn't care about it. He don't care about what name he's called by. He don't care about what tradition he follows. He don't care about any of that stuff. All he cares about is my physical body's hungry. I want my physical body to have what my physical body. So he's led by the what? The flesh. And the flesh we will fight with all the time. We're going to see that when we get into Exodus. We're going to be dealing with Amalek, which is a type of the flesh. Yes, Mother?
I'm looking at some of my resources. I went from the Greek to the dictionary. And in Greek, Jacob means, or Yakub means supplanter. And then if you go to the dictionary, you'll see that to supplant means to take the place of another as through force, scheming, strategy, or the like.
There you go.
So you're perfectly right.
Exactly. That's exactly what he's doing. That's it. He said, planting. I'm gonna move you, trick you, and take your what? Take your place. All right. And so, what was the most important supplanting that has ever taken place? What was the most important supplanting that has ever taken place? When somebody moved you out the way and took your place.
In the garden, I think, with Satan, he kind of, through his tricks and his scheming, he moved Adam and Eve to commit sin.
Started in heaven.
Yeah, it may have started there too. But here on earth, I think it may have started with Satan.
And that's really good. But you know, there was one even greater than that. When Jesus took us and moved us out of our place and put himself in there. The scripture says when he got on the cross, he became what?
A sacrifice.
But he became. It said he that knew no sin
became sin.
Took on.
Wait a minute. Jesus took on sin.
Yes.
And then the Father looked at him as what?
Sin.
And had to do what?
Turn it back.
Because you can't mix a holy God with sin. Because if you do, he's no longer a what? He's no longer a holy God, and that's never going to happen. So when the Lord took our place, he's the ultimate Jacob. He's the ultimate heel catcher. He took us, moved us out the way, and put himself in that spot. He's the planter.
Yeah, he became the living sacrifice.
He became the living sacrifice. All right. Verse 33. And Jacob said, swear to me this day. And he sware unto him, and he sold his birthright to Jacob. Look at that. So Esau just gave it up, not realizing the importance. See, that's why Jesus told Nicodemus, marvel not, you must be what? Born again. Don't underestimate that birth. See, a lot of times we know our natural what? Birth there. A lot of times we kind of like, well, I think I got saved around so and so time, and we don't always have the celebration of that. But don't, even if you don't remember that day, don't overlook at it. Don't overlook it. It was really what? Important. The day that you became what? Born again. Very important day. Final verse. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage and lentils, and he did eat and drink. Jacob gave Esau what? What he wanted in the what? In the natural. But what did Esau get? What he wanted in the what? In the spiritual. He wanted that inheritance. I want that relationship that I will have through the promise. Jacob understood the promise. Now, where did you think Jacob got that from? Who was Jacob's favorite? I'm sorry. Who was
Isaac?
No.
His mother, Rebecca.
The mother, Rebecca. And Rebecca got the word directly from who?
God.
From God. All right. It says, and he ate and drank and rose up and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. You know, there's some people that despise everything about Jesus. They don't want to hear. I don't want to hear nothing about God. I don't want to hear nothing about the things of God. I don't want to hear nothing about what you. I don't want that stuff about God being talked about. I don't care about it. They don't want to hear nothing about Jesus. And that ain't new. We see it already right here. All right. Yes. You have a question?
He didn't understand his birthright. I imagine if he had any spirituality to him and he had a comprehension, even if he thought he was about to die for a bowl of pottage, he wouldn't have done it.
Exactly.
You know, but he didn't. Maybe he had no spiritual nature within him, so he just, what is this birthright gonna do me?
That's
No
right.
understanding.
Exactly. Esau lived for the what? The flesh.
Right.
What my flesh wants. I don't want my I don't want my flesh to have to suffer at all. So I'm not going to do any discipline. I'm not going to do any difficulties. I'm not going to do any anything that's going to make my flesh have to have any type of discomfort, sacrifice, pain. I'm not going to do it. I mean, even the Bible says that bodily exercise does what? Profit little. But now examine that. Bodily exercise destroys? No, it says bodily exercise what? Profit. But then put it in context. It profits what? Little. So even if you just from the natural make your flesh have to go through struggle, it will give you a what? A profit. But it's little in comparison to what spiritual exercise is. But we don't like to make the body do what? Suffer at all.
But consider the world that we live in today. It sows completely to the carnal and the material body. I mean, people don't want to suffer for anything.
No.
They just want instant gratification.
Me too.
It's like a party, yeah, let's go. It's like drink this, eat that, go, anything for pleasure. You know, they don't focus on the spiritual aspects of what will come after the pleasure, which is not going to be so good if you sow completely to materialism.
Right. And I'm going to close with this dealing with the flesh. We live in a day where in our world today, we have a certain percentage of our population that is suffering from malnutrition. They just don't have enough to what? Eat. And that has always been. Jesus said the poor you're going to have what you what? Always. But growing and catching up and about to pass the amount of people that have physical problems from not having what? Enough to eat. Now we're living in a day where we are dealing with a segment, a percentage of population that have problems because they have what? Too much to eat. Way too much to eat as a problem. Too blessed. Too much abundance. Now, to me, I'm looking at that, I'm going, wow, isn't that just like the devil? Because when Jesus was in the wilderness, he tried to make the road for Jesus what? Easy. You want to eat? Turn the, your fast is over. He didn't say break the fast. It wasn't 39 days or 32 days. You already finished the what? The 40-day fast. And it's now, it is time to eat. So why wait until somebody bring you some bread? Turn those rocks
into bread.
It's what? That makes it what? Ease. All right? You want to get the praise of people? Jump down off this temple. They will see you because what's going to happen? The angels are going to come and bear you up. And you're trying to convince the people through parables and stories and conversations and all this different talk that you're going to do that you are the Messiah. Well, if you jump off this temple and the angels come and catch you, they're going to know it right then. You don't have to go through all that teaching. They'll just know it. No, they ain't going to do it that way. Well, then you know what? You're coming so that you can help bring goodness to the kingdoms of the world. I'll give you all the kingdoms. Ease. That's what the devil offers. Instead of the proper thing of development through what? Struggle. There's a scientific study that took place about caterpillars and their development going from a caterpillar to a butterfly. And during that experiment, one of the things that they did when they noticed how the caterpillar is struggling, trying to get out of that cocoon, it's fighting and struggling and all that. Well, one scientist said, well, he was going to make it easier, and he took his little scalpel knife and he kind of slit open the cocoon so that the caterpillar didn't have to so that the butterfly didn't have to struggle to get out. Well, guess what? That butterfly, once he came out, couldn't fly because the wings had no bodily fluid in it. That process of struggle and that pressure allowed the fluid of that butterfly to go throughout the wings. The pressure, the struggle produced that. And it also developed the strength so that once it came out, it down had the strength to do what? To fly. Struggle is not the enemy. We always trying to fight against struggle. We trying to fight against, well, I don't have the health I want. I don't have the money I want. I don't have the my companion is this. My children is this. My job is this. Struggle is not your enemy. The devil is. And if he knows that ease will get you to do what he wants you to do, guess what you're going to end up with? You're going to end up with ease. So don't get too thrown out of, you know, well, I want things to be so smooth and so easy and so wonderful. I don't, and we think things should be, you know, like this. And what David said when he looked at how the wicked were what? Prospering. He said his foot almost what? Slipped. I'm looking at all these guys prospering and they ain't serving God. Well, of course they're not serving God because they're serving who? They're serving the devil because the devil's giving them the ease. We got to be careful with that. We got to be sure that we watch that. Yes, ma'am.
Final question. Considering that we're facing a period that's soon coming, known as the Great Tribulation, for all people who put their trust and their hope and their pleasures in pleasures and things, when all things are taken away from them, or will they consider God or consider that their true strength lies in faith and in trusting in God? Or will they just, you know, pass away with all the rest of the world, you know, that's about to face this day of trouble?
Well, I mean, my answer to that, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I just wanted to answer that.
Sure, go ahead.
I found out that in cases like that, Mother, you don't know what's in you until you're put in that situation. Then you'd be surprised what's in you. You will never know what you will say. And I've witnessed it myself. And when you put in a certain situation, you have no way to go. You have no other way. So what else is left? But then you hear people say, well, now I might as well try God. So you never know what's in you until you're put there. And I think that's the thing, that going to studies and getting God's word in you. And then when you get so much in you, and then some days you're like, oh man, I don't think I can do that, I don't think I can do that. And then when you all of a sudden something comes worse than what you were even thinking about, and you boom, you put in it, and all of a sudden you're like, dang, how did I get out of that? See, God always has something in you that you don't realize what's in you.
And I think even as when you're growing up, especially if you're growing up in a house where you hear the word, because it says it's like planting the seed. It says some plants, some waters, but God gives increase. So even if you're not doing it then, there might be a situation or a circumstance that comes up when you think that you don't even remember. But then it says thy word, that seed that was planted long ago, it'll come back to you. You know, and then you grow on that seed because it's still germinating. It hasn't died. The seed has not died. But there'll come a time when that seed is going to give increase.
Yeah, and I think all that's true. And I will add to that. It's going to be a whole lot like Baskin Robbins. What's Baskin Robbins famous for?
31 flavors.
31 flavors. All different kinds of flavors. So what does that mean? That means that you're going to have some people that are going to do just like what Brother said. Yep. They're going to do just like what Mother said. But that ain't the only kind of flavors. It ain't just chocolate and vanilla. There's all kinds out there. People react all different kinds of ways. And so it's like the Bible. I throw some names out there. All these people dealt with God. We talk about Abraham. And look at what he did. But then I say, okay, but what about Saul? King Saul. He was called and named by God to be the first king of who? But he ended up with what? Some major problems. Right. So what it boils down to is you.
Your choice.
See, you take some clay and you form it into a form of a cup. The clay's still kind of soft and matte. You can still move it, right? and then you take some butter and you form it into the shape of a cup. Put both of them out in the sun. What's going to happen to the clay? It's going to stay what it was designed to be. What's going to happen to the butter? It's going to melt. But now they both got the exact same thing. They both got the sun. But the sun transformed them in two different ways. Same thing with us. We are all going, the Bible says that every knee shall bow and every tongue shall confess. Depending on what you are when you see the Son of God, not the Son of God, but the Son of God, you're going to then, what's in you, if you're going to stay what God made you, God's going to harden you into what He has developed you to be. And some people are going to do what? Melt away. Because there's no substance, no weight, nothing in them that can take on the power of God to be who God has designed you to be. And other people just fall apart. Because there's nothing in them. Their character is like butter in the sun. All right. So no substance. That's exactly what it is. So to answer your question, there's going to be a whole lot of people you can look at and they look, ooh, boy, that's a wonderful looking guy. And they're going, the sun of the difficulties of tribulation and different things, and they're going to melt away. But you're going to have others that look like they may not stand, but when that sun hit them, they're going to harden up and stand. And when we went through the book of Revelation, we talked about that. You saw how the Lord called 144,000 to go through all this difficult stuff, and He sealed them. That means it don't matter what you do to them, they are not going to do what? Not going to move. But wait a minute. Why does that sound familiar? What shall separate us from the what? The love of Christ. Shall powers or principalities, things to come, things nothing can separate us from the what? That's in Christ Jesus. So therefore, if you are in the Lord, it don't matter what the devil does. He can't get you. Because see, if God can't keep you, guess what? You can't be kept.
Right. You know, and also you said, and when you think about it, the gift of the Holy Ghost that abides deep down in your soul, if you have that, then you know where your faith, that's when you put your faith, that's when you really kick in your faith. You know, when you're going through these trials and, you know, hardships and just simple things, you know, that's when your faith really kick in, that you believe God will get you where you need to be. You know, that's the main thing. God will get you where you need to be. It's just that you, as they say, we want not because we ask not. So you have to ask the Lord when you're going through this. You know, go before the Lord. That's what we did in Sunday school. Go before in church. Go before the Lord and cry out to Him what you want and what you need Him to do. God, you know, for this daily walk that we do every day. Everything you do every morning, you get up and you prepare yourself for the Lord to take care of you. So just these little simple things, and that's what we forget about, just the little simple things.
And also, you have to realize that you have to remember there's truth, then there's facts, and then there's feelings. So what you're going to operate on is going to determine which way you got to go. God's word is always going to be true. It's never going to change. It's going to stand forever. Feelings fluctuate every time you look around. You're going through a different feeling, a different emotion. Those come and go. But God's word, which is fact, is going to stay. It's never going to turn. It's never going to change.
That's right.
Well, I thank everybody for the many different flavors. Because that's what I just heard. Many different flavors of dealing with tribulation.
That's right. And you're going to see it all. And I like what Mother said. She said, God want to get you where you need to be. And I'm one for particulars of words because I like the way she phrased that. God will get you where you need to be, as opposed to God's going to get you where you want to be. Because see, we all want to be somewhere. We all want to have something. And is it wrong to want things? No. So I want to have nice stuff. I want to have good health. I want that. I want to be able to pay my bills. I want my car to work. I want that. But what does that come to suppression to. It comes into. I allow the rule of God to put me where I need to be, even though it may not match up with where I want to be.
Amen.
Therein is the personal struggle that we all have to deal with, because see, y'all can look up here at me and go, well, I'm sure you figured out how to handle that, sir. Y'all think you got that down pat. No. I'm always having that struggle with God. It seems you need me to be this. I want to be that. But then you got to do what? Succumb. Allow God's will, not my will, but God's will. And be patient.
You have to humble.
Now, we're gonna close with this. Abraham, well, let's not even deal with Abraham. Let's go to Sarah, because Abraham, he ended up having some children in roundabout ways. Sarah only had what? One child. But Sarah was told all this and all these wonderful things, but she had to deal with the patience of just waiting for God. Most of her life, her promise was what? Just that, a what? A promise. Not something that she could actually put her hands on until later, 90 years old, before she could actually put her hand on what God promised her. And so a lot of times what we end up doing is running out of patience, which she did. Because, and then she twisted, she got spiritual on us. I think I know what God's talking about. See, and we can do that too. And you know that is not driven by the Spirit of God. That impatience and trying to figure it out is driven by who? Satan. But he comes as a what? Angel of God. So you thinking, I think the Lord's speaking to me. Now, you can't tell me that Sarah said, the devil told me to do this, so I'm going to give you my... Sarah didn't think that. Sarah was thinking what? I think God, and that's what she said, maybe God is saying this, that through my handmaid. Now she is wrong as two left shoes, but she's putting it into the realm of what? This is what God's telling me to do. And so we got to be careful with that. A lot of times we think, oh, God's telling me to do this, or God's leading me to do. Make sure that you're not trying to just make things happen fast. Because then you'll end up in patience. You'll be in a realm where the spiritual evil kind of dwells and just waits for you to come there. Just like a hook, a worm on a what? On a hook. Just it's been there, just sitting there waiting for the fish to come and what? Nibble on it. All right, we're gonna stop, because if we don't, we can do this all day long.